and freeing. Many of my clients say they leave feeling
Welcome to the Flourish Frequency, the show where we activate and amplify the frequencies of success, joy, and abundance. I'm your host, Beth Larson, a high-performance and quantum success coach. If you're ready to ditch the hard hustle and embrace a more effortless flow, then this is the show for you. Together, we'll tap into quantum thinking, harness the laws of the universe, and unlock the secrets to living a life of more. More joy, more energy, more passion, more money, and more meaning. No more simply surviving, we're going beyond thriving. It's time to flourish. The Flourish Frequency Show starts now. Yes, and welcome back to the Flourish Frequency here, where we are here to activate your energy and amplify your life. So I hope that your 2026 has been off to a beautiful start. I just want to take a moment and reflect a little bit on last month's topic. Last month, we talked about you, version 2.026, and using the Apple model of iteration as you step forward into that next level version of yourself. So just as a reminder here, Apple, one of the largest companies in the world, has never launched anything perfectly. Their whole thought process and the whole model of success has been ideate, have a big idea, have the big vision, and then put it out into the world imperfectly, and then iterate. Constant evolution. And that's really what I'm proposing for you as well, as an individual, for all of us, is that we get to have a version of ourselves that is an ideation, that is a big vision, that is a dream, that is creative energy that wants to be expressed. And we get to do that in iterations. We get to launch it out into the world, and then we get to iterate as we go. And so today's topic is an important extension of that conversation. Okay. When you do this, when you actually start to evolve yourself into that next level version of yourself, you're going to be growing and evolving and taking those courageous steps forward into a whole new identity, into a whole new way of being. And something inevitable happens. When we start to do this, it creates tension. It creates that push-pull that happens between the old version of you and the new version of you. And this could be something that, I was proposing you version 2.026, right? You version 2026. But this can be you version 2.026.2 because we're in February. And the next month it's you version 2.026.3 and 2.026.4. It can be every single day. It could be every hour on the hour that there's a new version of you that's trying to emerge. And so this feeling of tension can be coming up consistently for you when you're trying to actually emerge into it or to allow it to emerge. And when I say allow it to emerge, that version of you that's trying to evolve, the version of you that's being called forward, that creates that tension, right? And how you handle that tension and how you relate to it, it has everything to do with the version of you that actually perseveres and actually does emerge, okay? So before we go anywhere today here with this conversation, I want to invite you to arrive to the conversation, not just that physically here that you're listening to this conversation, but arriving inside of yourself. As we're going through the conversation today, paying attention to what you're feeling in your body, even just listening to what I'm saying. Do you feel tension coming up in your body? Just hearing the conversation. And if you do, where do you feel that? Because your ability to start to recognize what tension feels like and be present with the tension, like I said, it has everything to do with your ability to allow that next level version of yourself to actually emerge. And if you only listen to this from the head, from the cognitive level, from the mind, and you're not actually listening with your whole body, then you won't be able to actually use this information. You're going to keep it at the level of information. You'll keep it maybe at the level of knowledge and not actually get this knowing from it that starts to emerge in your feeling and the embodiment. Okay. And here's the truth. Tension that you feel in your body and that you're feeling when you are actually evolving into another level of yourself, another version of yourself, that tension is not just a personal tension. It's something that we don't feel in isolation. We're actually experiencing tension in the world right now, a lot of it. And quite honestly, there's always tension going on in the world, but there's a lot of it going on right now. You know, we just entered the year of the fire horse 2 days ago. So whether you follow Eastern astrology or not, the symbolism is really interesting. Fire horse years are known for intensity. They're known for a lot of momentum, a lot of movement, a lot of big energy. If you look back historically, you'll see it every time we've got the fire horse energy. It's kind of a restless drive forward. And if you look around right now globally, I'd say that tracks. There's a lot of push and pull happening in our world right now. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance between what we thought we need to be true and what's actually coming out to be true. There's a lot of opposing narratives. And there's a lot of people feeling stretched between what they have known and what's emerging. And you can feel it in all of the conversations out there. You can feel it in the conversations around politics. You can feel it in the conversations around economics. You can see it in technology and those conversations around AI. And you can see it in our culture. You can see it all over our social media. There's tension. Here's what matters. The same dynamic that's happening collectively is also going to be happening for you personally. While the world is being stretched in its capacity to hold more complexity, as individuals, we're also being stretched. We're being stretched to hold more information. We're being stretched to be more visible with our opinions and our thoughts and, you know, the beliefs that we carry. We're being stretched to hold more responsibility for our beliefs and for showing up in the world. We're being stretched to have more choice. And we're also being stretched to also, I propose, hold more possibility. To not allow ourselves to actually continue to operate just in a world of predictability. To be able to, we're being stretched to be able to see things not as they are, but as they could be. Because our minds as human beings really love predictability and they want to go down a route. And when we start to see things that are really, you know, concerning and that are really challenging our worldview and our beliefs and everything we've known to be true, then it starts to get uncomfortable and it wants to go into the certainty of predictability. But if we want to grow and evolve, both as individuals and collectively in this world, I think it's really important that we understand how tension can actually serve us, what it actually does for us, and that we can continue to challenge ourselves to actually, again, see things not as they are, but as they could be. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying putting blinders on. I'm not saying spiritually bypassing and pretending like things aren't as they are. There is the reality of where we are right now, but there's also the possibility of what could be. And that's what I'm actually inviting all of us to challenge ourselves to do, to see things not as they are, but as they could be. Because in many cases, when we look at things as they are, and we start to see things that are really out there that are not good, then our brains, again, will go down the path of predictability, and it will start to create things, more of what we don't want. Let's just put it that way. When we can challenge ourselves to see things as a breakdown, that is a temporary breakdown, that is a necessary breakdown, so that something bigger and better can emerge through it. Well, that requires us being able to see that as possible, to be able to actually envision it and allow it to happen. And so, that brings me back to, you've got to be able to work with the tension that's coming up and not collapse into it, and also not harden yourself around it. Today's topic is about being soft enough to receive and strong enough to hold. And what I mean by that is, there is the tension in there that is created between this push-pull of where things are and where we desire them to be, and where we really want to grow and evolve. And again, I'm speaking here both as an individual in your own life, the desires that you have for yourself, but also collectively as a world, this push-pull that's going on. And it's inviting us to grow and evolve individually and collectively. Then it requires that we be able to hold the tension, be present with the tension, and not collapse into it, and not close ourselves down so that we can't evolve. Okay? So again, what we're being invited to do here is to actually expand our capacity. Okay? When we are expanding our capacity, that means that we can sit with tension, and we can actually hold more of it, and we can handle more of it. Because if we can't hold and handle more of it, we can't have more of it. And when I say more, I mean more of what we do want, more of the vision of where we want to grow. But as soon as we think of that and we can't envision it, we can't see ourselves being able to handle it or hold it, then we can't have it. So we go right back into the old way of being, because that's the comfort zone. That's the certainty zone. That's the familiarity zone. I said comfort zone there, and that's probably a word that is, it's the one I always trip over when I'm saying it, right? Because we all know that the comfort zone is anything but comfortable. Why is it uncomfortable? Because there's a whole lot of tension in there. I want to just also point out, and I've talked about this on the show before, this topic of tension briefly. I've never really fully explored it this deeply in a conversation and in this context. But one of the things that just always strikes me is that intuitively, our bodies know and understand that tension is actually a good thing. So if left to our own devices, our body would understand it and know it. It's that our head gets involved with things that we disconnect ourselves from that knowingness. Now, how do I know that our body intuitively understands it? Well, because if you look at any sports analogy, and I've used this analogy or metaphor, I always get the two confused, but I've used this before. So you may have heard me say this before in one of the shows, but it's like, if you think of almost any sport out there, our bodies understand that if we pull back and we create some tension, that we can gain energy for momentum. So what I mean by that is, if you think of, let's say, for example, baseball. If you're a pitcher, when you go to throw the ball, you pull back your arm in order to gain some energy and some leverage, so that when you throw that ball, it's got momentum behind it. The same thing is true if you're on the receiving end. If you're the baseball, you've got the baseball bat, right? You pull back, you get leverage, and then you swing forward. So you're getting energy that's building up, that's creating momentum for you. The same thing would be true for the quarterback, the football, right? they pull back their arm to gain energy, to gain momentum. And then they have a target, right? And this is an important piece. They've got their focus. They know exactly where they're going with it, and they don't get distracted, and then they let it go. And every single sport, golf, the same thing. Tennis, same thing. Even billiards, same thing. There's always a level, and it depends on how close you are to the target, how much leverage you need, how much energy you need, how much tension you need. But that pullback is tension. It's just like a rubber band pulling, two sides of it. You've got tension there. And what happens is when we are growing and evolving as individuals, and we're trying to grow into that next level version of ourselves, we want to have that vision that we can hold so that we know where to direct that energy. Because the energy without direction is going to be all over the place. And what happens is if you can't hold the tension while you're holding your vision and sit with that tension and allow it to build, most people are going to try and collapse the tension. So what does that look like? That looks like resistance. Okay. Tension and resistance are not the same thing. There is a famous quote I've heard so many times, and I don't know who originally said it, but it's, intention, attention, no tension. It's like the manifesting formula. In reality, that's not true. It just sounds good because it kind of rhymes, but it's really intention, attention, no resistance. That's really what the way of going about it, because again, we want tension. It's actually a good thing. It is a creative life force energy that will allow you to get momentum, that will allow you to move forward towards your goals. And if you can hang with that tension and hold on to it and keep your focus on the vision and where you're going, then you will be able to get that leverage. But if you collapse it, right, if you are not strong enough to hold it, and you're also not soft enough to receive it, you're going to collapse into it. And then you go nowhere, right? It's like you put the brakes on. So it goes absolutely nowhere. So again, if you're distracted, if you don't even have a vision for yourself and where you want to go, if you start to get distracted and you start looking at what everybody else is doing, if we take this back to a more global look, if you start getting distracted and by the news and everything that's coming out left, right, and center, and you're not staying focused on your own inner guidance system and understanding from your body and feeling into it and feeling what feels true for you, because that's your North Star, then you're going to get caught up in the head and looking at what everything's going on outside of you. And if you can't handle that, and you can't handle that cognitive dissonance, you're going to collapse into it. And what happens a lot of times then is, people get overwhelmed. They then collapse into it and they feel powerless, like they can't do anything. And so then it's like the overwhelm takes over, and we're not going to grow and evolve in a society, and you won't grow and evolve as an individual if you can't challenge yourself to actually hold that tension and gain power from it so that you can affect change, so that you can affect influence, whether it's in your personal life or whether you have a call forward to something more global. The world needs people in their power in order to affect change. What we are experiencing as a society is something that it's a breakdown that needed to happen so something bigger and better can emerge through it. But that means that we need people in their power. We need them not collapsing into, I can't handle this. So again, I'm saying this here from a perspective of both an internal personal growth and development, U version 2.026, and every single day and every single month is going to call you forward into something, and it's going to create some kind of tension for yourself in your body. It may create tension for you in your relationships. where conversations feel more charged. It can show up for you in your work, maybe where expectations are higher than they used to be. It could show up in your desire where you want more, but you're not sure that you're organized to hold it internally. And here's one other thing I want to say about this. When we are interacting with other people in partnership, in leadership, in collaborations, it's not just an internal pull forward. You'll also feel an external pushback. The friction or the tension between who you've been and who you're becoming is also something that starts to get felt by the people around you. And this tension, when it rises up, it pushes the comfort zones of other people. This is where a lot of times as individuals, we can turn on ourselves in the process and want to shrink ourselves back just to make the other people more comfortable. Okay. So in this topic of tension, what I want to really challenge you here today is to just think about, what if the way that I've been taught, or what if what I've been taught about tension is not really what it is? What if tension is not something, it's not a sign that you're failing or that something's wrong or that there's problems that need to be fixed, but what if it's actually a sign that your capacity is being stretched, that you're being called forward, that you're being challenged to grow and evolve, and that you're being challenged to grow and contribute also? Because your ability to expand your capacity and to stay present with more intensity without collapsing or hardening is ultimately what's going to allow you to have more, to actually tune into that flourish frequency where you can have more. And when I say have more, I mean more impact, more intimacy, more leadership. Yes, more success and more wealth, but also more influence and more legacy and more meaning in your life. And not going about it through forcing it, but being organized to hold it. Okay, so this is what we're exploring here today. Through this phrase, strong enough to receive, soft enough to receive, strong enough to hold. That requires an integration. And it requires an integration of the tension, not a collapsing of the tension, not a resistance against the tension, but being able to hold it and integrate both masculine and feminine energy that create tension. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to take a break here in a second. We want to talk a little bit about that masculine and feminine energy as it relates to tension, because it very much is the creative energy that creates tension in all areas of our lives. So before we break, I just want to put out an invitation. If this conversation is landing with you, if you're feeling something, I want to actually invite you to explore possibly joining me in the Flourish Alchemy membership. This is a membership that I've created, an actual space that is, it's like a playground where we practice actually integrating these conversations. So it's one thing for us to talk about all of this, but it's another thing to actually practice. What does tension feel like in my body? How can I actually hold it? And we actually do that in the membership. Every month I do what's called a meta mastery workshop, where we go in and we actually explore these topics. Usually it's related to my Flourish Frequency show theme, but we go deeper with it, with experiential practices. And then each month we also do Somatic Magic 9D breathwork journey. And that is an amazing, it's an amazing process to actually help you integrate into the body and allow yourself to expand your capacity. We do that through the breath, and we also do it through the 9D technology. And 9D technology includes a 90-dimensional, multi-dimensional sound experience. It includes binaural brainwave entrainment, solfeggio frequencies, 432 hertz harmonic tuning, isochronic brainwave tones. There's subliminal hypnotic therapy in there. There's bioacoustic sound effects, and all throughout guided coaching. We do that so that we can integrate these conversations in the body, so we don't just keep it at the level of the mind. So we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about why strength and softness were not meant to be opposites and what we need to do to actually integrate them. All right, we'll see you back.
Cut the shit. Stop struggling to feel present. Stop being taken advantage of. Express how you feel and stop making choices based on what other people think. Intuition Unleashed, a revolution in personal liberation podcast, is your go-to resource for combining guidance with mental health and spirituality and solving your questions about why you can't seem to catch a break and find your true happiness. And you can find more episodes at becknelson.com/podcast.
Are you struggling with unresolved emotions or recurring patterns? Tune into Beyond Birth Trauma, From Burden to Brilliance with me, Shannon O'Flaherty, on Transformation Talk Radio. On the second Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, we'll explore your own birth experiences and consider how they might be affecting your current life patterns to start your journey towards self-discovery and healing. For more information, visit shannonbtb.com. That's shannonbtb.com.
We are all born with gifts that we are meant to use to improve the world. Join me, Vicki Todd, and Dr. Pat on Shine Delusion Shine, the radical art of dreaming beyond boundaries, each fourth Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Shine Delusion Shine is a springboard to believing, dreaming, and thinking beyond the ordinary and a catalyst to living a more fulfilling, destiny-driven life. For more information, visit vickiworldart.com. We are all born with gifts that we are meant to use to improve the world. Join me, Vicki Todd, and Dr. Pat on Shine Delusion Shine, the radical
Okay, we are back and we are having this powerful conversation today around the topic of tension and why it's really a creative energy and why it's important that we allow ourselves to be able to actually sit with tension. Because if we can't sit with the tension and actually allow that energy to build, we're going to do one of two things. We're going to either put the brakes on or we're going to react and discharge that energy. And we know reaction is not the same thing as responding, and when we react, we're reacting usually out of a stress response, again, because we can't handle it. So being able to, handle tension is this whole conversation of being soft enough to receive and also strong enough to hold. And I want to reframe discomfort of tension a little bit and understand that it's intelligence. Okay. Tension is telling you that you are actually in the process of stepping outside a comfort zone, right? And it's actually something that if you start to learn to actually celebrate it when you see it, when you start to recognize those feelings and start to recognize, oh, the only reason I would actually be feeling this is because I am moving outside of my comfort zone. I'm moving outside of certainty, right? We love certainty as human beings, but certainty doesn't give you growth. Okay. Well, I shouldn't say that. It can give you some growth if you are looking at it from a very predictable way. Then yes, you can have some growth, but you're never going to have the level of growth that you're meant for. True growth and evolution, going into the realm of pure possibilities, requires that you can actually be okay with certain things being uncertain. So we want to be able to really stretch ourselves and be able to expand our capacity. Now, I talk a lot about this concept of capacity, right? Being able to hold more, to be able to have more. And the tension that comes up it's a combination of both masculine and feminine energy that actually creates tension for us as well. The feminine energy is that vision and it's that dream and it's that desire that's coming through for something bigger and better and new and different. And the masculine energy is that energy, though, of structure and support that actually can allow that energy to grow. But in order for that to happen, you've got to actually be able to use both of those energies in a way that serve and support each other. So what do I mean by that? I have a glass of water here right next to me, actually. And so if you're watching this with me, then you can see this. If not, if you're listening to it on podcast, then just imagine a glass of water here, okay? The feminine energy would represent the water inside, and the masculine would represent the glass. The water, without the glass, without something that is holding it, would be all over the place. Okay, so when you think of your dreams and your visions and the desires, without structure and support to hold it in a way that's really nurturing, in a way that's serving that energy, that water, that energy for you would be all over the place. This is where a lot of people get stuck, because they have a vision, they've got these dreams, but they're all over the place and they're not taking any action. There's no structure and support built in for them to take action forward on it. So they just end up all over the place. All this beautiful feminine energy that's actually going nowhere. On the other hand, a lot of times you'll see, where there's structure and support, but it's a glass with a big old lid on it. So rather than just being contained, it's actually confined. And that's something entirely different. That's not the kind of energy that creates the tension and allows it to actually expand and grow. It's confining it. It's saying, I can't handle more. So guess what? I can't have more. If there's a lid on this glass, I can't pour more in. And that water can't grow and evolve. The dream can't grow and evolve if I am trying to control everything. If I need everything to be certain. That is an overuse of the masculine energy. So you can have overuse of masculine energy, you can have overuse of feminine energy, you can have underuse of both of those as well. When we are talking about being soft enough to receive and strong enough to hold, it's understanding that we get to have both masculine and feminine energy, and doing it in a way that is empowered, in a way where each of those energies is supporting and serving the other. And when that happens, you're going to have tension. So I want to just take a second here and reflect on a form of tension that makes this really clear. Sexual tension. Sexual tension, I'm not bringing this up here to be dramatic or to bring up a taboo topic here. It's bringing it up because it's the obvious form of creative energy that uses both masculine and feminine. And sexual tension is just simply, it's energy that hasn't been discharged yet. And if we've all experienced it, if you experience that energy, you want to experience that energy, right? To actually feel it. It's desire that hasn't been rushed into action. And it's charge that hasn't been collapsed or avoided. That's what sexual tension is. Sexual tension only feels uncomfortable when we don't trust our capacity to hold it. If our nervous system doesn't feel resourced, it's going to look for relief. And that relief might be by acting it out. It might be shutting it down. It might be distracting yourself, or it might be over-rationalizing. But if you're grounded, if you're present with it, if you're self-led, then sexual tension can feel really alive. And it is creative. It's the very energy, when you combine together, that actually creates life. So it is an energy that, why would that be? Why would that have been the way we are created as human beings? Why would sexual tension even be a thing that is actually embedded in us? And intuitively, our bodies understand and know, again, that this is something that actually creates life. Whether that's our intention going into it or not, Our bodies intuitively understand this. And this matters beyond the conversation of sexual tension, because this tension and the way it works and the energy and the way that it works, it's the same mechanism that shows up with everything in your life. Whether the topic is money tension, visibility tension, leadership tension, growth tension in any way, shape, or form. It's energy that requires both masculine and feminine. If I'm going to expand, if my feminine energy wants to grow and evolve and actually reach into those big dreams that I have for myself, and if I want to really honor those desires, then I definitely don't want to contain it. Sorry, I want to contain it, but I don't want to confine it. I don't want to confine that energy. I want to be able to allow it to build. I want to be able to sit with the tension that comes up with the idea of, I don't know how it's going to happen. That's where the tension is. Because an overuse of masculine is going to put a lid on it because it can't see the how. It's going to confine it with the lid only to what it knows how to do. But if you're willing to take the lid off and explore in the area of, I have absolutely no idea how this is going to happen or how this is going to manifest into my life, but I know I desire it. I know I know I'm worthy of it. I know I have this vision. I know I have this dream, and I won't be denied it. And I'm willing to be uncomfortable in this tension. Then how can I be soft enough to receive it and strong enough to hold it? I still need some strength. I still need some masculine energy. I still need some structure and support. That might look like I need more cups to pour into. I might need to hire more people in my business or hire more people to support me in my life. Right? I know in my life, I've shared this before on the show that, both of my parents have dementia, and, being able to, part of my dream and vision is to just be there with them, to be able to experience life with them, no matter what stage they're in, but to be able to be present in the moments, to make the most of the moments that I'm having. And that has allowed me to navigate this part of my life that's part of my journey in a way that actually, that supports that vision, that I can make the most of the moments. But the only reason I can do that is because I leaned in, excuse me, and I allowed myself to be soft enough to receive support and strong enough to hold it, the tough times, but I also got more cups to pour into. I hired additional people to help me, to help them, so that I could be there for the moments. Now, I use that example in my life because that's a very personal example, but the same thing is true in my business. And I'm sorry, I have a little tickle in my voice, so I'm going to take a sip of this water. Excuse me. As my business was growing and evolving, there's a part of me that wanted to control and just do how many of the things that I could do myself, that I could continue to do it. But in order to grow and evolve, well, that meant hiring more people, and oftentimes hiring just a little bit before I was ready to do it. And by doing that, I intentionally created some tension for myself. By me having a vision of where I want to go and then going ahead and taking the action and hiring somebody in, that actually created tension, which meant, I need to actually take some actions. There's more that I could be doing that I wasn't doing. Not from a place of, I need to do this, but a place of, I could have been doing all of it and I wasn't, because I was just in a comfort zone. So I intentionally created some tension for myself by hiring a little bit before I was ready for it, which then got my butt into gear, into action, which started moving energy again. So there's an example of how I intentionally created tension because I had a vision, because I knew where I wanted to go, and I didn't look at just my circumstances to see what was possible. But I allowed myself again, to be soft enough to receive support, but also strong enough to hold the tension in the meantime that I was absolutely intentionally creating for myself. So I want to just challenge you here to think about this in your life, in the context of all the different parts of your life, whether that is in your business or it's in your relationships, maybe it's with your health. Where do you have an opportunity to intentionally create some tension for yourself? And what do you need to do to actually bring in support or structure that would allow yourself to be supported, that would allow that to actually happen? Because if you create tension for yourself without creating the structure and the support, you will collapse. Your nervous system won't be able to handle it. And so, that part is really important. The other part is working with that nervous system piece. So I talked about having more cups to pour into, but how about also getting a bigger cup for yourself? How about actually working with your nervous system to be able to handle it when stress comes up? When I take a step forward that creates tension for myself, if I can't hold that tension, the stress comes in, the nervous system collapses. Again, I'm going to pull myself right back to where I was. But if I can breathe through it, if I can use something like breath work and to manage the stress when it comes up and not let the stress manage me, then I can actually continue to move forward. And that's a very intentional use of tension. So get yourself either some cups to pour into and a bigger cup, but ideally both. So we're going to take another quick break here before we close out for today's conversation. One more sip of water. And again, I just want to remind you, if this conversation is really hitting for you, then you might want to consider joining us over in the Flourish Alchemy membership, where we do offer these additional supports to help you be able to actually sit with tension, to even be able to create tension very strategically for yourself, and to do it in a way where you can allow yourself to also be supported. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to take another sip of this water. And when we come back, we'll close out for today.
Cut the shit. Stop struggling to feel present. Stop being taken advantage of. Express how you feel and stop making choices based on what other people think. Intuition Unleashed, a revolution in personal liberation podcast, is your go-to resource for combining guidance with mental health and spirituality and solving your questions about why you can't seem to catch a break and find your true happiness. And you can find more episodes at becknelson.com/podcast.
Are you struggling with unresolved emotions or recurring patterns? Tune into Beyond Birth Trauma, From Burden to Brilliance with me, Shannon O'Flaherty, on Transformation Talk Radio. On the second Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, we'll explore your own birth experiences and consider how they might be affecting your current life patterns to start your journey towards self-discovery and healing. For more information, visit shannonbtb.com. That's shannonbtb.com.
We are all born with gifts that we are meant to use to improve the world. Join me, Vicki Todd, and Dr. Pat on Shine Delusion Shine, the radical art of dreaming beyond boundaries, each fourth Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Shine Delusion Shine is a springboard to believing, dreaming, and thinking beyond the ordinary and a catalyst to living a more fulfilling, destiny-driven life. For more information, visit vickiworldart.com. We are all born with gifts that we are meant to use to improve the world. Join me, Vicki Todd, and Dr. Pat.
Welcome back. And I hope that you are enjoying this conversation today around this topic of creative tension. And I hope too that you're actually starting to look at tension a little bit differently, about how you engage tension in your life, and consider it a little bit differently. Because I know when this first resonated for me, it made a world of difference when I started engaging with tension very, very intentionally and differently. Everything shifted, everything changed. And really, it's being able to expand capacity is what allows you to be able to work with this tension. Capacity is our nervous system's ability to stay organized while the intensity of the tension moves through it. Capacity is not something that you build through force. It's something that you build through presence, right? Through being able to stay with the sensation just a little bit longer than you're used to doing. Through not abandoning yourself when things get tough or charged. And also through not armoring when things get uncertain, not bracing yourself, not closing yourself in. And this is where I want to be clear about something. This kind of capacity is not built by understanding it conceptually. If you leave this conversation and you only think of it from the head, that's not going to change things for you. It's not enough to actually to make the change, to actually help you be with the tension. It's something that you have to build through experiencing it. And again, I've been talking here about the membership, the Flourish Alchemy membership. I just want to reiterate that again. That's a playground for you to experience, or you can experience it else in other ways in your own life, but you have to be able to be willing to actually play around with this concept, to actually be able to experience it for yourself. In the membership, it's not a place to just consume more information. It's a space where you get to practice being with intensity without collapsing or hardening. So, as we close out here today in this conversation, I want to bring this back to something just really kind of simple here. Remember that you don't harden in order to hold more, and you don't collapse in order to receive more. You stabilize. Stabilization is something that when you're evolving into that next level of identity, again, where you are now and where you want to be creates that tension. You want to lock into that next level version of yourself, and you want to stabilize that next level version of yourself. That's where you want to anchor. That's where you're going to actually hold that energy. Okay. And that's where you bring in the strength and allow yourself to actually do that. And if you need structure, if you need support, you do what you need to do there to actually allow yourself to stabilize into the next level version of yourself. If you're collapsing back, you're not stabilizing, right? You're going back and forth and back and forth. Holding strong during that time is where the tension is. Okay. So you breathe through that. You hold it. You hold the vision, and you get your structure and support in. This doesn't look like a breakthrough moment or a dramatic transformation all the time. And more often, it just looks like catching yourself before you react. It looks like noticing the tension in your body, and choosing to stay with it instead of rushing to fix it. It looks like allowing the intensity to exist without immediately turning it into a problem. Because again, I'm going to say this. We've been taught to believe that tension is a problem. We've been taught to believe that tension is something that you have to fix or get rid of. But what if that is not the case? What if tension, right, is creating leverage? It's creating momentum. And it is a good thing, not a bad thing. Your ability to shift your perspective on how you're looking at tension, how you're engaging tension, how you're working with tension has everything to do with the outcome you're going to get. It's subtle, but it's powerful at the same time. And if we zoom out here for a moment, especially in this year of the fire horse, this feels especially relevant. Remember, fire horse energy is bold. It moves fast. It carries heat. There's momentum in fire horse energy. And everybody I know right now feels that momentum right now, feels that energy. There's also disruption in it. There's a forward drive that doesn't wait for everybody to feel perfectly comfortable. If you're waiting to feel comfortable before you take action, not only will you not see the change in your own life, but you're not going to be able to make an impact in what's going on in our world. You won't show up as a leader, right? We're seeing that kind of energy globally right now. Things feel very accelerated. Things feel very polarized. Things feel very charged. There's a lot of friction in conversations. There's friction in our systems, in our leadership, in our identities. Friction is a form of tension. But remember, your ability to keep your focus on your vision and where you're headed and where you're holding your energy is what stops you from collapsing into it and going into that place of, well, what can I do? I'm one person, what can I do? And throwing up your hands and doing nothing, to being able to actually stand in your power and to know that even one little person in this world can have an impact, can make a difference. It starts with one. So it would be really easy right now to respond to the collective fire by either armoring up and trying to protect ourselves, or by shutting down. To get louder and harder, or to retreat and to disengage. But neither of those responses build capacity. And what builds capacity, both personally and collectively, is our ability to stay present in the heat without being consumed by it. See, fire, when it's contained, it creates warmth. It creates light. And it forges strength. But fire that's uncontained can burn down everything in its path. The same is true inside of you. The tension that you're feeling, the stretch, the charge, the sense of being on the edge of something new for yourself, that is energy. And it's not inherently destructive. It becomes destructive only when we don't know how to hold it. So here's a question I kind of want to leave you with here today. When you think in your life, you think about the different areas of your life, what tension in your life might actually be training you to hold more? What might it be challenging you? Or how might it be challenging you to grow and evolve? Not by forcing yourself to endure more. Not by proving that you're behind, but training you, conditioning you, inviting you. Where is life stretching your capacity so that you can participate at a higher level in your relationships, in your leadership, in your impact? Because your ability to remain soft enough to receive, being open to growth, open to feedback, open to possibility, and at the same time, being strong enough to hold, being grounded, being self-led and sovereign, being internally organized. Your ability to hold both, not either or. That's what will allow you to navigate a year like this with clarity instead of reactivity. That will enable you to navigate a day as you evolve from version 2.0 to 6.0 to 2.26.3? As you allow yourself to continually iterate into that next level version of yourself with passion, with knowingness, with empowerment, instead of reactivity. So if this episode has resonated for you, and if you can feel yourself standing on the edge of expansion, just know that you're exactly where you need to be, that you're not failing, that you're being stretched into greater capacity. And that stretch, when you meet it with presence, becomes strength. Soft enough to receive, strong enough to hold. In a year of fire that may be more powerful, this may be the most powerful way to move forward. So until next time, remember to always dream big, live bold, flourish. And if you want to know more about ways to work together, if you want to know more about the Flourish Alchemy membership, you can go to my website at www.bethlarsoncoaching.com and find out more information about both. I look forward to talking to you all on the next Flourish Frequency show. Thank you for tuning in to the Flourish Frequency Show with me, Beth Larson. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and are leaving with a heart full of inspiration and a mind buzzing with the possibilities of more. Tune in every third Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for more frequency boosting conversations. And if you want more help getting into your Flourish flow and stepping into the possibilities of more, you can find me at bethlarsoncoaching.com. That's bethlarsoncoaching.com, Larson with an E.